Our whole universe was in a hot, dense state that nearly 14 billion years ago expansion started. Wait, the earth began to cool, the autotrophs began to drool, Neanderthals developed tools, we built a wall, we built the pyramids, math, science, history, unraveling the mystery that all started with a big bang.
Hello everybody, welcome to a new year and a new YouTube lecture, Lecture 18. Now you might be wondering, why did I start with the song Big Bang? Because this isn't a science course, it's a history course. Well, progressivism is a massive Big Bang in American history. This is a huge turning point, very, very important. It's going to basically be something we're going to talk about all the way through, well, Barack Obama. Barack Obama is a progressive modern-day president himself. Liberalism. This is the beginning of a strong, massive liberal movement in America. It'll begin with Theodore Roosevelt as president. Woodrow Wilson as a Democratic president will marry progressivism forever to the Democratic Party. It'll explode with FDR and the New Deal. It'll come back with Truman and Kennedy. And of course, Lyndon Johnson and his Great Society of the 1960s. It'll go away for a little bit with Ronald Reagan and the conservative movement of the 1980s. But Bill Clinton, a moderate progressive, and now we've got Barack Obama. Yes, a big bang in the political arena, social arena, major changes in American history, progressivism. Let's take a look at a few things here specifically now. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and look specifically at the key concepts that you will see as a test question. Make sure we truly take note of this when you watch the videos. As I keep trying to tell you, your test questions are 100% derived from these key concepts. So here we have key concept. We're in period 7 now. So this is key concept number 1, Roman numeral 1, letter A. So you have this continued growth of these large corporations. Right? Massive industry has emerged. We're not just looking at guys like Rockefeller and Carnegie who simply control monopolies. We're seeing the names of corporation emerge, like the Ford Motor Company is becoming a major corporation here. Right? The nation's economy is being transformed. American society is changing. The way we think about work, the way we think about where we live. Right? People are living in massive urban centers now, big cities. People are thinking of apartment living for the first time ever. This is becoming a whole change in life for us. Urbanization is what I'm talking about. Massive business cycles fluctuate. Those are our panics. 1893 was the last one. There'll be another one in 1907. And of course, the big one will hit in 1929, the Great Depression. But as this is coming along, we see that corporations are dominating the United States economy. There's a huge focus on production of consumer goods, new technologies and manufacturing techniques. Here's the assembly line. So if I ask that question, the answer would be something like the assembly line with the Ford Motor Company. Or if this was a short answer, or perhaps you're writing an essay that talk about give examples of new technologies and manufacturing of early progressive era, Ford Motor Company, the assembly line. Workers building the Model T cars, spitting them out by the hundreds and the thousands each and every day. This is completely changing the way we think of America. Key concept 7.1, Roman numeral 1, letter B. Again, we're transitioning from rural, country, agrarian society. The populace lost the election of 1896. Farming issues are a dead issue now in America. We only care about industry. So new economic opportunities now for women. Here is an old-time photo of women this looks like some sort of an office building. They're using typewriters. Becoming secretaries is a whole new occupation for women. Telephone operators, nurses. There's a lot of opportunity now for women at the turn of the century to get more involved in the economic sector of America. We're getting a lot of internal migration. Internal migration, that means moving from one district or one county to another, or from one state to another. Mostly we're going to see a huge African American migration is going to take place right around the time of World War I. We're still getting a lot of international migration. A lot of immigrants are still coming to America at the turn of the century. All of this is changing the way we think of America. And this is why the progressives are going to do what they're about to do. So key concept again, 7.1. Now Roman numeral 2, letter A. Progressive reformers. So here it is right in the concept. So that's a testable thought. They see economic instability in America. Right? They see this powerful elite class. The upper 10% is what they used to call themselves. Now we refer to them as the 1%. Right? Your powerful Rockefellers and Carnegies, your ultra-rich human beings. This is creating a type of instability for the growing poor class in America. Social inequality, especially with gender inequality. Women still do not have the right to vote. African Americans are being segregated. A lot of political corruption. Right? Political corruption is going on. The political bosses, the political machines that we talked about throughout the Gilded Age. All of this is what these progressives want to try to either correct or stop completely. Well, how are they going to do it? They want to call for more government intervention in the economy. No more laissez-faire. Progressives are not laissez-faire. We're going to get to a whole new form of economics known as Keynesian economics, where the government now is completely involved in the economy. They want to expand democracy. That means you. They want you more involved in democracy. Greater social justice and, very important, conservation of natural resources. Here's Teddy Roosevelt. One of the things a lot of people don't realize about him, massive conservationist. He believed in trying to preserve as much of the United States. He's the one who gives us national parks, for instance. If you've ever been to national parks, you've got to think Theodore Roosevelt. He wants to save the Redwood Forest, the Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, Talladega Forest in Alabama, the Everglades in Florida. These are things that he wanted to protect, and progressives believed in that as well. Now, down here in A is very important because we see journalists. This up here it says the muckrake and some of the muck. We're going to talk about this on Tuesday in class. The muckrakers, these investigative journalists who are going to go out of their way and try to look at all the corruption in politics, the corruption in big business, social injustice. This becomes a huge movement in America. Now, talks about the late 1890s. You might remember a guy we talked about during the Gilded Age. His name was Jacob Riis, R-I-I-S, an immigrant himself. He had a famous book called How the Other Half Live. It was a photo book, because he's a photographer. He's like the beginning of these muckrakers. But now you have all these investigative journalists who are going to come on, and they're going to expose a lot of corruption and a lot of negative things in American society. I also want to make sure you understand this is a middle class movement. This movement begins with the middle class. The wealthy could care less, and the poor have no say in anything. Without a say in anything, you got to have someone else to help you. And so doctors and lawyers and teachers and nurses and professionals, bankers, and this sort of that. These are the people who are going to become the progressives in America and try to change society for what they think is the better. They want to change it at the local, the state, the federal levels. They want to create new organizations to help address social problems. All of this is in your key concept. All of this is a multiple choice question. I can get 2 or 3 multiple choice questions right here, and the answers are right here. All you have to do is study this video before the exam. Study this again, and you'll see what the answers are for your next test. Stay in key concept 7.1 Roman numeral 2, but now we're going to go to letter B. Progressives promoted federal legislation, law. They want to create law within the government. We're going to talk about, when we get to Woodrow Wilson, Clayton Antitrust, and Federal Reserve, 2 massive laws that are progressive laws, and how they will change everything. Again, here's my good friend Teddy Roosevelt. Delighted. Bully. Teddy Roosevelt. Love this guy. Bad trust, good trust. Roosevelt, as a president, he is a Republican, so he will believe that there is no such thing as all monopolies are bad. He thinks there are bad trusts and good trusts. If there's a monopoly that's trying to hurt the consumer, he is going to regulate them. The ones that are good trusts, he's going to allow them to exist. That's his mentality. And that becomes much of the way the Republicans look at this, whereas the Democrats will become a little bit more serious in their attack on monopolies. Now, down here where it says 2 goals, this is not part of your key concept. This is something I'm adding here just to give you an idea of what progressives want to do. They want the state, the actual states, to be able to curb the power of the trust. They're also very much afraid of socialism. There are a lot of individuals out there who will tell you that progressivism is socialism. It's not. It's liberalism, and liberalism is very close to socialism, but they're not the same. They realize that a lot of socialists, anarchists, and communists, oh my, have come to America, and they're afraid that if the government doesn't ever do anything, Americans might eventually turn towards this. So the progressives wanted to give something else, some liberal reform that could make Americans happy. Now, both parties have progressive elements. Like I said, Roosevelt is a Republican. Woodrow Wilson is the Democrat. Here's some political things that they brought for us. Direct primary elections to undercut the political bosses. Referendums, recall. A referendum is where you, the voter, gets to decide what we should be voting on in the first place. You get to decide if there's something out there that the government should vote on. You get to decide that. And a recall is where you get to recall votes. Direct election of U.S. senators is finally going to come with the 17th Amendment. This is a progressive amendment, as will be some others we'll talk about later on. Staying here, this is just, again, some examples. You might have seen the name Florence Kelley. There she is right there. She's a progressive reformer, very interested in child labor laws. Here are some of the other things that they did, promoting social welfare. Well, the YMCA's come around. Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts of America, bam, 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 there you are. We're going to get some social reform, education reform. We're going to put your children in school and actually educate them. Promoting moral improvement. Temperance comes back, and eventually we get Prohibition, one of the dumbest laws in the history of humankind, but they thought it was something that was going to be good. Suffrage, right? Florence Kelley was also a suffragette. We want to finally get women the right to vote. Creating economic reform, exposing corruption in big business. All of this is what the progressives were trying to do. It's a middle class movement again. See, I have it there a second time, making sure it stays in your mind. Stay in your mind. It's a middle class movement. All right. So that's pretty much it for this introduction on progressivism. Please take the moment to look at 2 pages in the textbook and see the grassroots progressive movement and what it's all about. And there's my good friend Teddy again, shaking hands with bears. Now, I actually kind of know why that's there, and later in class we'll talk about that. All right. See ya. Hope to see you soon in class. Bye-bye now.